Now that goes against everything that you've been taught your whole life. Everything you've been taught your whole life. You've been taught that you think with your mind. But in the Quran, it talks about what the mind does. Think about some of the things the Quran says about the mind. Jesus said, let us forget the body. He said, let us forget the flesh and go with mind. And go with mind. So therefore, he is identifying that the mind is a vehicle that we could use to transcend boundaries, that we could use to transcend time and space. So when the Prophet Muhammad, he talked about going from Mecca to Jerusalem and back to Mecca in one night, the night's journey. How did he travel? He said he traveled on an animal called Barak, and this animal in one stride, he moves as far as his eyes could see at the speed of thought. At the speed of thought, he was traveling with the mind. You understand what I'm saying? What else did he say about the mind? He said, these tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind. So he's telling us that there is a workshop in the mind. And he's saying where we build up thought. He said where things are made of thought and where we build up character. Now he's telling us what we're supposed to be doing in the workshop, but that's not what you have to do because your mind is yours. You can change it when you want to. Islam. It's Paradigm Shift in the podcast with the Sheikh Maurice Pennington Bey, the Moorish Master Student. And I am here today with some young Moors, fresh members of this Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm going to allow for them to introduce themselves. Islam, we're going to start, ladies first.
Islam. My name is Lauren Ambrose Bey, and I'm 9 years old.
Wow. Islam. And next, Brother James Ambrose Bey.
Islam.
Let's introduce you.
James Ambrose Bey.
Islam.
30 years old.
30 years old. Islam.
I'm Day and I'm 18.
Day 18. Islam. Hey, listen, man. I don't know about y'all, right? But I'm gonna say this. And then y'all can tell me what y'all think. Y'all can tell me how this relates to you as an individual, you being who you are, right? I'm 44 years old. I'll be 45 years old in about 2 months. If I could have learned more science when I was 9 or 18, I was in the temple. I was in the temple by the time I was 30. By the time I was 30, I had some years in already. But if I could have learned this when I was 9 or 18 years old, man, I mean, y'all tell me, like what does the future look like now? Pivoting from a platform of the knowledge of self, whereas before it was, I guess we didn't know that we didn't know who we were. But you tell me, speak to the people.
The generation is very different now.
Yeah.
We late to learning this. Yeah. So learning this is like a privilege and honor at the same time.
Islam.
To find ourselves and find Allah in the correct way.
Islam. I hear that. I definitely hear that. Islam. Sister Lauren, what you think?
I feel like I'm honored to be learning this stuff because I honestly didn't think I would come in East Peoria and start learning stuff like this. So yeah, and I feel like in the future I'm gonna be teaching more stuff.
Islam, I think we all know that your future definitely reflects, Sikhism. I think that's understood. And I think that was understood within like the first couple hours of you being in possession of a Holy Quran. I think we knew, like, hey, like, how like fish take to water. Islam. Yeah, real talk. demonstrate, Day. What you think?
What was the question again? My bad.
Basically, just like I said, if I could have been 9 or 18 years old and having a knowledge of self and a structured book to tell me, how to go about living my life, and just making the best of, every opportunity that came my way. I want to ask you, hey, like coming into the Moorish Science of America, beginning to learn the things that you are beginning to learn, what does the future look like to you?
The future is bright. That's all I can say. Like, it's like more positive things happening. I'm learning more about myself, stuff that I didn't really know. I'm learning different perspectives into life and stuff. The future bright.
Islam. Yeah, it is bright. For you, how you even got into the temple to even step foot into the temple the very first time. You're on your way to the Air Force, so you had to come down here to visit with a recruiter. Ain't that right?
Mm-hmm.
So you already have a real thought out future. I think we had the conversation, wherein some of the things that you are definitely going to be learning while you're there will be beneficial to our people, in general. Just having the type of knowledge that you're going to get passed down to you, especially when it comes to leadership. Me personally, I always say it's two fields that I look to when it comes to studying leadership. When I really want to, make myself a better leader, I look to the United States military, number one, and then I look to sports and look at coaching. I feel like coaches are, some of the best leaders on the planet, and I feel like the United States military has established a platform where, the best rise up and lead the rest. So I think that's something that where more science and you being a part of it is going to be like a perfect marriage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Slum.
Definitely. For the young Moor, 18 years old, how do you feel like you carry more science into your new path in life, going to the Air Force? How do you think the lessons you've been learning can guide you throughout your path, throughout your journey?
So it can guide, like, I'm gonna take the example what we learned today. Like, your thought, your mind, like, it's not a heaven or a hell, it's all in your mind. So like a lot of people be saying like boot camp hard and stuff. All that's in my mind. Like, if I put my mind to it, I can make it through it, then I know I'm gonna make it through it. And so that's, and carrying Moorish, knowing that Allah is with me through there. He the one, he know my plan, he know where I'm going. So that's really what I say.
Absolutely, Islam.
Islam.
Like,
You said it. It is hard. Boot camp is going to be hard, but at the end of the day, there is nothing that is worth having that we should not have to work for. That's one of the things that we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Would y'all agree?
Absolutely.
Islam. You know.
it's like,
Okay, so I got a question. So what questions have you had that you had in your mind? Those questions that we always, search for answers for, and then, has the Moorish Science Temple of America answered any of those questions for you? That you had questions about life, questions about heaven, about hell, about God, Allah, God who we know is Allah. It feels good to me to know the name of God, but tell the people listening. I mean, because I know y'all for real. I already know y'all. But tell the people listening, about how these questions have been answered, or if the Moorish Science Temple of America has failed to answer certain questions. We need to know that too.
Absolutely, I can draw from that. One thing it has taught me is learning the lower self and the higher self. And going back to what he said, young Moore 18, it's all in the mind. You know, you have those bad thoughts when you wake up in the morning. You have those good thoughts when you wake up in the morning. But it's up to you to defer and define which thought is the proper thought and go along with the thought you know is the proper thought. Don't dwell in the lower self and that path that it steers you in. You gotta kind of listen, but use that as strength, you know, kind of put it on the back burner and then continue on with what you know your higher self really expecting you to do, mean for you to do. And you hear that thought in your head, you know, and just, you know, you gotta go with it.
Islam. That's right. Islam.
So, A, I call it 7-Eleven o'clock. And B, I've asked this question a lot of times, and yes, it has got answered, but I feel like I never believed it. Like, I feel like the question was, when was Allah born or made or created? Because if there's a start to us and everything else, the creator has to have a start too.
Hey, the young Mobites took me down through there one Sunday school with this question right here. All right. And it's amazing to me, you know, that because I wasn't thinking about nothing like that when I was young. The first time, I'm going to tell y'all something. The first time that I ever thought about the concept of a beginning for the beginner, all right, a beginning for the source or the origin of life. You know, the first time that whole concept ever came to my mind, I was studying with a brother while I was in the dismal crib, and we were studying Socrates. Okay, and Socrates, you know, he was actually sentenced to death for what I'm about to say. This is what he said about the creator having a beginning. Socrates said that the principle is the principle, therefore it has no principle. So the source is the source, therefore it has no source. That was my first time ever, you know, delving into that type of conversation. And me and the brother who I was building with at the time, we talked about it. And I didn't really grasp it the way that I know and understand it now. Okay, in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, in chapter number 10, it says that Allah is the thoughtless thought. I mean, Allah is the causeless cause and the rootless root through which all things have grown. Okay, so truth does not change. Allah is something that is incomprehensible to us. And in a way, what the sister is bringing to the table, the idea that she has, this thing that she's struggling with, is a part of Allah that is incomprehensible to us. The fact that Allah always has been, okay? He always has been. It always has been. All right. And for me now, it goes beyond me trying to understand if Allah has a beginning and then comprehending that I actually never had a beginning. Because the Quran teaches us that man is not the body nor the soul. Y'all bear witness, chapter number 1. Man himself is not the body or the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. Ain't that what the Quran says? It says that we are not our body, we are not our soul, we are not what we see right now when we're looking towards each other. We are something more. We are spirits and we are parts of Allah. So one day I had this revelation. I said, well, wow, if I am a part of Allah, which I am, the spirit man is a part of Allah, then that part of me that is that part of Allah has always been. Okay. And it's like this. If I'm just a nose here in Allah's nose, Allah always had that hair. I've always been. Okay. I've always been. So now, we start to understand other parts of the Quran. And I can speak to you more about these particular chapters as you have been in Sunday school and we've studied these. Okay. Chapter number 13 of the Holy Quran. It says that the highest heights are gained by those who reach the greatest depths, and you shall reach the greatest depths. And we studied and learned that reaching the greatest depths means to go deep within ourselves. Ain't that right? All right. It's about going deep within oneself. It's not about, the person who has been at the lowest carnal stage of life, the person who been broke as dirt, who ain't had nowhere to sleep, nowhere to eat. That's a part of it. Okay. But it's really about getting deep inside of oneself, especially in those moments when we're doing bad. And it say that the highest heights are gained by those who reach those greatest depths. Well, when you reach the greatest depth or the heart, right? Remember, Lauren, when you looked up the definition of heart in Sunday school, and it talked about the innermost center part. All right. When we reach that part of ourselves, who's there? Where's the nearest place to meet him?
In the heart.
In the heart. All right. That's when we come in contact with our God, who is the Father of the universe. And I got a question. Because our God, Allah, is the Father of the universe. What does that mean? Allah being the Father of the universe, what does that mean?
To me,
He is all, he is everything.
I feel like it means like him being the Father of the universe, like he's the one who actually created the universe with like all the planets and stuff. So he's like the creator of everything, the universe, and yeah.
Islam. What you think, Day?
I think that means like Lauren said, he created everything, he started everything, he's with everything.
Islam. All right. So Allah is the Father of the universe. So if Allah is the Father of the universe, and the universe being everything that exists, not just here in our house, not just here in our city, our state, our country, or even here on our planet, but the universe is everything that exists. Okay. So if Allah is the Father of all that exists, all right, everything, then what is our relationship then to all that exists if he is the Father?
We are one whole. We are one unity. All unite with the earth, with the world, with the universe, with everything. All consciousness is one.
All consciousness is one, as one family. Because if he is the Father, then we are all one family. Islam. This is what the Prophet Noble Jew Ali wanted to introduce back to us, something that our ancestors understood clearly. The brotherhood of life. All right. So the Prophet Noble Jew Ali wanted us to know that our God was not somewhere in some fake made up heaven in the middle of the sky sitting on the throne, wanting us to bow and praise him and sing hymns to him for all eternity. He told us that our Father was not, that our Father God Allah was not simply and only our king, but he is our daddy. All right. Our most ancient ancestor is Allah. All right. We come from the God. It does not matter what people call the God. We call Allah Allah. All right. Others call Allah by many different names. He is the Father of the universe, and we are one family. This is what our prophet wanted us to come to know and understand. All right. So now, how does that understanding affect you going forward when you dealing with other people?
For me, it's like learning that everyone vibrates on their own vibration. Even though we all one, everyone got their own vibration. Meaning, like state of mind. You know, knowing that we all one is like being able to accept other people for who they are, but at the same time knowing that it's okay to be different in your own way because we all vibrate even though we all vibrate at the same frequency, or at least we want to. We gotta realize that that's one we are, one vibration, regardless of the differences. In my opinion of it.
Islam. Islam. Islam.
Islam. I wanna add on to that, cause like it made me think of when like in one of my announcements I said know that you are powerful and unique in your own way. So like just because we're all one, we're still like I would say like different people. So we have a different thinking and we have like a different smartness level, but we can all like uplift each other. But we all different and we all just need to be accepted for who we are and stop trying to be like other people.
Islam. Islam. I love that. I love that. Islam. What you think, Day?
Um, I agree with what they say, but then I want to put it in another perspective because now today we all so divided. The whole world is divided.
Mm.
And so with that being said, like it makes me know that we all are one. We all are united to him. Just like the Constitution say, even though it don't say a lot, it say God, their version of God or whatever. But we all are one up under him. We all united up under Allah.
Islam. Okay. So now you just mentioned the Constitution. You're talking about the Constitution of the United States of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Islam. Okay, so the Prophet Noble Ali says that we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and the partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, black people, colored folks, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. Okay. So the Prophet Noble Ali has said a lot right here in this declaration in the law. He said, one, we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. Obviously, if we teaching it to them, we teaching it to them because they don't know it, right?
Yes,
And it's something that they need to know. He also said that we are teaching them, that they are not Negroes, black people, colored folks, or Ethiopians. All right. Now I want to show y'all something. This was one of the things when I first joined the Moorish Science Temple of America. I was asked to speak at the Day of Atonement for the Nation of Islam. And what I spoke about was that particular part of the law. Because as Asiatic people coming from where we come from, because we are all from the streets, ain't that right? We from the streets. As a matter of fact, we from the worstest parts of the streets. You understand me? And coming up in the streets, we know that a lot of our people call themselves black people. Vice Lords, Black P Stones, Mickey Cole, Slam King, colored folks, GDs, BDs, Maniac Latin Disciples, Spanish Cobras. You understand me? And this is the Ethiopian degree, them using these different denominations to further divide themselves. And the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, being a prophet, even in his time, which was prior to this social science that has been demonstrated against us, he prophesied that the Moorish Americans would have to not only just teach our people their true nationality, Moorish Americans, but we'd also have to teach them that they were not members of these pseudo nations. Gangster Disciple Nation, Black P Stone Nation, Vice Lord Nation, Mickey Coben Nation. You understand me? So how does the knowledge of this apply now when you're moving forward?
That mean a lot. Because nowadays you got a lot of young individuals walking around calling themselves YNs, a part of all different type of sets connected to the beginning of the gangs. So it's far more divided than what it ever was. And coming back and realizing that we are Asiatic and not vice lords and not GDs and not, gang members and gang bangers at all, but we one nation is a solid understanding to be able to go forth and learn and grow from and get your mind out of the streets and focus more within. And everything that we are together is one,
Islam. And then, what's very, very important is that we don't get all high and mighty about it, right? We have to know and understand that the prophet Jesus sat with the thieves, the extortioners, and the courtesans, did. And that was in his era of time. But if the prophet Noble Ali was in this era of time, he would sit with the Bloods, the Crips, the Vice Lords, the GDs, the BDs, the Blackstones, and the Mickey Cobes. Ain't that right? He would sit with them because these are the people who need him most. You understand me? These are the individuals who are seeking for that familial connection that we talked about called the brotherhood of life. I know when I was a young person and I went out there and got involved in the gang life, that was something that I was searching for, right? And we have to know and understand that today still, this is what our young people are searching for. So the Moorish Science Temple of America can facilitate that to them. Do y'all believe that?
Islam.
Islam. All right. I'm glad y'all believe that. Okay, so the Prophet Noble Ali further, he says that these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. So I remember when I was growing up, especially in Chicago, because when I used to think Muslim, and y'all could tell me if what I'm saying applies to you all, right? Lauren, she might not, but you all could speak to what I'm about to get ready to say. Growing up in Chicago, the Nation of Islam was the only thing Muslim that we ever knew about. Ain't that right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we knew. Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, they was everywhere. They had the Final Call newspapers, they had their bean pads, and they was wherever the wreck was, they're trying to facilitate something better than what we was already digesting. I mean, that's just what it was, So, but they talk, because they call themselves, they put that X on the back of their name. They threw away their last name and they put that X. So my name would have been Maurice X. Not Maurice Pennington Bey, but Maurice X, because they considered the Pennington as a slave name. But the Prophet Noble Ali just said something different, did he? Said Negro, Black, Colored, Ethiopian, etc. These are the slave names. He told us to keep our last name and then put our holy name on top of it, the ill Lord of Bay. See, these the holy names. All right. So what do y'all think about that? Because so many people, even in their casual conversation, they call the people who they love and they self the N-word. Don't they? What y'all think about that? How does that work now? Don't speak all at once.
It became a it became like a culture thing. It became a habit first and foremost, and it became a title. Negro, nigga, you know, it became a title, and after a while, it became a word for our community. It was a normal thing to do, a normal thing to say, a normal way to feel. But you know, you got to grow mentally and learn that it's more than that. And Negro is actually the color black, but through time we have been convinced that the color black means things of darkness, things of you know, bad, the lower self, but not exactly. You know, and we gotta rearrange the meaning of it and shed light unto what it actually means.
Islam. So the Prophet Noble Ali, he asked us a question. You know, he asked us, you know, he want to know, the Prophet want to know, what does black mean according to science? And when he said according to science, he's talking about Moorish science. Okay. So the color black according to science means death. Now, normally when we hear the word death, you know, we start to think bad things. Everybody start to get afraid. Anxiety kicks in. But the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America says that death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that bind the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. So now the Prophet Noble Ali is changing some stuff. You hear me? He's shifting some paradigms. When you come into the Moorish Science Temple of America, there must be a paradigm shift. Okay? Because he say that death is our friend. Now, people are not crayons. So, as members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we don't call people black and we don't call people white, because white has a meaning too. White means purity, purity means God, God means the ruler of the land. So we're going to identify Allah as the only God because we Muslims. So we're not going to call people white people because there is only one God. All right. Now, with that being the case, the Prophet Noble Ali is telling us that black has a meaning. Its meaning should be applied to a particular circumstance and a condition. The same thing with white. White has a meaning. Its meaning is applied to a certain circumstance and a condition. So we don't call people black people and white people. All right. These things is important because even in the Moorish Science Temple of America, you Moors is new to the Moorish Science Temple of America, and y'all come in with no knowledge of what some of the Moors in the Moorish Science Temple of America teach and believe. And I'm happy about that, because a lot of us, you know, in our past, we can be accused of, you know, hearing our own people, Asiatics out here in North America, you know, doing the right thing, like the Black Lives Matter community and you know, different other groups who are servicing our people and supplying our people with knowledge of self and certain cultural things that they need. You know, they're giving it to them, they're doing the work. But we will reject the idea of working with them because they call themselves black. Well, number one, they are not members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and we don't try to impose our laws on other people. You understand me? So we're not going to go around telling people that who are not members of the Moorish Science Temple of America that they have to live according to our law. Number two, the prophet said that we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. So that means that we have to sit down at the table with these people and have intelligent conversations with these people and inform these people according to science why maybe they should change their mind. All right. We can't take that disagreeable stance. That's important, Moors. That's important. We can all disagree with one another. But the one thing that we can never do is to adopt the attitude of the disagreeable. Meaning, I'm just gonna disagree with you before I even hear you out. No, Moors. That's not something that I'm going to ever teach. That's not something that I want you to ever learn or believe. You know, the wise man doubteth often and changeth his mind. Islam,
Islam.
Islam.
no, that's important, Moors. That's important. Okay. So, all right, now I want to talk. Now I want to move. That was like an introduction. I want to kind of let the people feel the Moors out. You know, kind of get an idea of you know who you all are. Now I want to talk about the state of our union. We are citizens of the United States of America. This is where we are. The United States of America has a president who is in office right now by the name of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has caused the stock market to you know go all wrong. He's picking fights all over the country. I want to know what y'all think about this. I really, you know what? Even Lauren, at 9 years old, I want to know what you think about this. Islam?
Honestly, for some reason, I never really actually liked Trump. I don't know why, but I heard that either he or somebody else was starting segregation back, but I ain't listen. So yeah, but honestly, not to be like a hater or something, but I honestly never really liked Trump. Oh yeah.
Okay, baby, listen. I want to say something that's very important. When you decide that you don't like someone, moving forward, I want you to be able to tell yourself at least exactly why you don't like that person.
Okay.
All right. Don't just dislike someone or something without understanding why. You know, because that's not fair to that individual. You want to make sure that they have a fair chance. Okay. So you always ask yourself why, and you study. You know, you go and you pull up, you research, and you say, well, if this person is the president, then what qualifies them to be the president or what disqualifies them? But I don't want to ever hear you say that you dislike anyone and then follow it up by saying, I don't know why. All right. Islam. What you more think?
I'm gonna say when it comes to the political aspect of everything, I'm really just now getting to the point of my life where I have become curious about it, and I know that's kind of poorly, you know, being stated because I'm 30 years old now. But I'm at the point of my life now where I'm a bit curious about it. I become interested about the politics, and honestly, I can't speak too much on it because I'm just now learning about it. But from what I can see is that it's a lot of confusion. You know, it's a lot of confusion. And like I said, with me as well, me also. So I'm not gonna give my direct view on Donald Trump because I'm just now learning about Donald Trump, his history, his past before presidency, um, even his allegations that's been put toward him, everything that's going on now with China, the tariffs and everything. I'm not too keen with it, but I know I've been trying to indulge in it. And I wouldn't say he was a better pick than Kamara. That I wouldn't say that she was a better pick than him because I truly don't know. But at the same time, I can say that I am happy that we have someone that's bold enough and strong enough to speak on our behalf. And the way the world is now, I feel like possibly we would have been taken for advantage in a different case scenario through a different person being elected. So I'm not saying that I like them. I'm not saying that I don't like them. But at the same time, I'm saying that I'm happy we got someone leading the country that's intertwined with the country and have connections to things that can possibly either bring us down or bring us forward. And that's truly all I got to say about it.
What you got to say, Daddy?
You know, I've been into with politics for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like President Trump, and the reason why is because just the way he acts. His goal was to divide America, I feel like, and he succeeded with that. He like I'm gonna say is he preyed on the people who did not know. He spilled them a bunch of false information, and that's what he used to help like win the election. He fed them what they wanted to hear, basically. He talked about grocery prices because everybody knew grocery was high because of inflation, and he said he promised that he was going to bring that down, but with his tariffs, he's only increasing the prices of it. President Trump, he's the type of man that talks a good talk but does nothing. He looks out only for himself and to make other people rich. The rich are rich per se. And his way of doing it, like from his first term, he inherited a good economy and he played up on that, saying that his economy was good. And he just told that to people who, like you said, like JJ said, didn't know or either wasn't involved in politics as much to recognize that. And I just want to take from like the Quran said, what Jesus told Barada Arabo, a man who does not know knows nothing at all. Like our people really got to get more in tune to what this man is doing to our country. And with everybody being so divided, he used that to his advantage, I feel like. He put everybody against one another. He put all the blame on the immigrants per se. Oh, the immigrants is the cause of this, and how everybody mad, but actually we all need to be together because he's not here for nobody for real.
Something you just said. Okay. Now I want to say this. Like I said, I'm about to be 45 years old. When I was born, Jimmy Carter was the president. So I've lived through quite a few presidents. Okay. They come and they go. What they do, it impacts our life in ways that a lot of us don't pay attention to. All right. Some presidents come in and things are just incredibly good. Like life becomes a lot easier, but they have short terms. It's 4 years, 8 years, and next thing you know, we dealing with somebody else. They come into office and things change. We need to not only pay attention to what someone like Donald Trump is doing right now. This is a lesson to be learned. But we need to pay attention to what any politician running for office is going to bring to the table if they are elected. Okay. We need to get more involved with the election process. Okay. The more we get involved with the election process, then the more we could actually affect government and put our handprint, the handprint which demonstrates 5 highest principles known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We need to put love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in government. And the way that we do that is by utilizing what our prophet Noble Drew Ali called the divine right of citizenship, which is your right to vote. Okay. Now I want to say this. Since I've been living, Donald Trump, George Bush, Bill Clinton. These have been individuals Okay, George Bush got into office on the back of his ancestor, Preston Scott Bush's bankroll. He founded Yale University and the Skull and Bones fraternity. Yale University and the Skull and Bones fraternity have put a lot of Bushes in office all over government. That's how he got into office. Bill Clinton got into office because he preyed and played on the fact that people don't know certain things. He came in as a Democrat. Most Asiatic Americans are lean Democratic. Now, during the time of our prophet and before, we always were Republicans. Okay, but the Republican Party and the Democrat Party have switched clothes. So the same Democratic Party that we see today is the same Republican Party that was led by Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War. They just switched, they actually switched titles. Okay. So the Asiatic people today lean Democratic, even though they don't know none of these people who call themselves Democrats and Republicans, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said something that's very important. Listen to what she said. She said, in any other country in the world, me and Joe Manchin would not be in the same party. Now, they both claim to be Democrats, but they had entirely different political perspectives. All right. People like Donald Trump call AOC, or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a socialist. Okay. They say because she leans too far left. Then you talk about somebody like Joe Manchin, who says he's the Democrat. But then you say, well, why is he always riding with the Republicans? Why is he not getting along with the progressives led by Obama? The reason is because he's an old Democrat. Okay? Joe Manchin, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, these are old Democrats. These are the Democrats who were led by people like Albert Pike in the Civil War. They flew Confederate flags. Still to this day, they call themselves Democrats, but at the same time, they were the ones who fought on the side of the slavers in the South, the Democrats. But since so many Asiatics know very little about history and government, and it's sad. And I wanted to, and listen, how I got so heavily involved in understanding this stuff is because I just did 20 years in prison. I did 20 years in prison for selling cocaine, crack cocaine. I got sentenced to 100 to 1 in comparison to somebody who would have sold powder cocaine. When I got locked up and I first stepped into that courtroom, I didn't know what them people was talking about. When they started talking about laws pertaining to the sale of crack cocaine, I did not know what they were talking about. That is something that has haunted me for 20 plus years. I have tried to understand, why did I contribute so much money, energy, time to doing something that I did not understand? Who in the world would enter into a business endeavor without understanding the business that they was getting themselves involved in? And that's exactly what I did when I was out there selling crack, and I did not know that I could end up spending 20 years in prison for selling crack. And it's the same thing with our people here in the United States of America who do not understand politics and don't know nothing about the people who they vote for. All right. So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali You know, the Moorish Science Temple of America started as a civic organization. I think Lauren, and she's only 9 years old, but I think Lauren is the only one of you all who has been here with us in Missionary Post number 9 long enough to even have sat down in discussions where we talked about how the Prophet Noble Drew Ali started the Moorish Science Temple of America as a civic organization. And then later, the Moorish Science Temple of America became a religious organization. But the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in his historical message to America, he always made it plain and understood that our problems are social, economic, spiritual. You understand what I'm saying? With that being the case, I want to do everything that I can in my power to make sure that we do what the law says, which is teach our people their nationality. So I'm gonna need brothers like you, Day Day. I'm gonna need Moors like you who are familiar with what's going on, who know, who's running, who can research the background of the candidate, and then help us construct messaging to be able to inform our people, because our people rely on platforms like this, right? People come to social media, they go to YouTube, they go to Facebook. This is where learning happens nowadays. People don't read, even though one of the characteristics of a Moorish American is reader. When you open up your Quran, in page 3, it says, "Dear reader, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those who love Jesus." And Jesus means justice. Okay. So, but the truth is, a lot of our people nowadays are not readers. They go to social media, they watch podcasts, they listen to what social media influencers got to say about things that they have no education about. Well, as Moorish Americans, like we studied today in Sunday school, chapter 12, right? Y'all remember when the miner came and told the man that beneath his soil rich treasures lie concealed? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that the man believed? Okay, well, we are Moorish Americans. So when it comes to speaking about these things that matter in life, people will hear you and they will believe you. So what I need you Moors to do is, I need you Moors to study these things, obey the prophet. The prophet told the Moors, he said, read your newspaper and listen to your radio. I'm going to make the European tell the truth. Okay. So in our era of time, it gets a little deeper. Now we can watch our TV, we can watch our YouTube, we can listen to, what these people got to say. All of these people who run for office, they have social media platforms. You could actually go and Google what people like Nancy Pelosi, what people like Joe Manchin, what people like Mitch McConnell, what these politicians have to say. You can go and see what they have to say about things and make a decision then based upon whether or not you want them in office. All right. So I'm gonna need you Moors to actually obey the prophet. Pay attention to this stuff. And then when you go on your own social media accounts, inform the people. When these people say something and they say, hey, they moving, and you like, hey, you know what? I agree with that. Then share that, post that, point to them and say they thinking along the straight line. But when these people are going against those things that's right and exact, then I need you to point that out. I need you to communicate to the people that's 9 years old, 18 years old, and 30 years old. Communicate to them people. Let them individuals know, the ones who not going to open up a book, the ones who not going to read the newspaper, but they going to listen to you. I need you to be the voice of truth. Because the Quran says that when those people came to hear Jesus, they didn't come to hear Jesus. They came to hear his words of truth. And that's what I need y'all to demonstrate. I need y'all to demonstrate the words of truth so that our people can start making informed and educational decisions when they use their divine right of citizenship, their right to vote. And then I need y'all to tell our people who think that they don't need to vote, they better get their behinds to the ballot before their loved ones be serving time in prison or before their taxes be 85%. Because this is what they subject to when they don't vote. This is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was demonstrating. When the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came and established voting blocks in the state of Illinois, and he opened up them 15 subordinate temples all over the United States of America, one being in West Virginia. Now, I be thinking about that. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali, one of his 15 temples was in West Virginia. Man, do y'all know anybody from West Virginia? Mo, do you know anybody from West Virginia who might be willing to start a temple? You do? You better start getting them.
You don't know about that, but yeah, I know.
That's right. Hey, listen, Mo. Listen, hold up. That's right, Mo. They don't want to vote, but they gonna complain after it's done. Islam, Mo. Mo, if you want to, click the link and come on stage, Mo.
But you know, a lot of people feel like their vote don't count because they don't.
Ask Marshall Will, if you want to, click the link and come on stage. Go ahead, Day.
A lot of people think their vote don't count because they don't understand how the electoral college works.
Islam. Okay, break it down for them. Tell them how the electoral college works.
So, your vote do count, but it counts in your state per se. So, like, we're gonna take Wisconsin for example. Donald Trump won Wisconsin because he had the most votes. He won the electoral college points. But Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin also won because she had more votes. So the electoral college really pertains to the presidential election. And with the electoral college, it's whoever have the most votes in that state win the points. And the electoral college is broken down. Each state gets 2 points for their 2 senators, and then however many U.S. representatives in Congress, that's how many other points you get. So the more populated states will have more electoral college points because they wanted to make it where states with higher populations, it'll be like a fair balance per se, where states with higher populations wouldn't always win the election, like Illinois, Texas, California's and stuff. They wanted the people of like Wyoming to be represented too and stuff like that. And some politicians even call for the abolishment of the electoral college because they want, like in 2016, once Hillary won a popular vote, but Trump won the electoral college, they felt like that wasn't fair. And it's like the electoral college is confusing, and that's where a lot of people feel like their vote don't matter comes from.
Islam. Okay, so I draw, and I have encountered Asiatics who have had that same type of exact misunderstanding, when it came to how they vote actually counted and mattered. And with the electoral college, so every state is accorded a certain amount of electoral college votes according to how much congressional representation that state has. So every state starts with 2 because every state has 2 senators. And then if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say for every 35,000 citizens of each state, there is 1 House representative or something like that. So now, you have a state like our state. Okay, we're in the state of Illinois. So in Illinois, it's 18 electoral college votes. Now, when I first started following politics closely, Illinois had 20 electoral college votes. But since the population of Illinois has been decreasing because other states like Arizona have been growing, and a lot of people from Illinois have been going to states like Arizona, we have less electoral college votes. Now, with that being the case, the electoral college, those people who represent the electoral college, they can't just vote for whoever they want to. Like you said, they have to vote for the individual who has in their state received the popular vote. Now I think it's 2 states. I think it's Maine. It's 2 states that do split the electoral college votes. They do split the electoral college votes. One is Maine, and the other is it's a state that has only something like three electoral college votes. All right. But the Supreme Court of the United States of America ruled that the electoral college must vote with the majority of their state. So each vote does matter. The only thing the electoral college does is it prevents us from counting 300. Well, most people don't vote. So about 100 million people, let's say 100 million people out of the 340 plus American citizens who do actually show up and vote. All right. So the electoral college breaks it down. And, you know, a lot of people, like you said, they don't understand that. They think that because there's a such thing as an electoral college, they vote don't matter. But in the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moors should understand, because sheiks vote in the Moorish Science Temple of America. But sheiks, good sheiks, vote according to the needs of the members in their temple. All right. So when it comes time to vote about, you know, what we're going to do as a group moving forward, you know, we don't just call every member and say, hey, you know, what do you think? The sheiks make the vote. And I have not heard nobody complain about the fact that the sheiks make the vote, whereas in this case, the sheiks equal an electoral college. And it's all a state of confusion, like you pointed out. Brother S. Marshall Will, I don't see you in the studio. So if you clicked on the link and you in the StreamYard, you have to click the button that says enter the studio. Once you enter the studio, and I'll see you pop up right here on the on my bottom line, and I can put you right on the stage, and you can build with us, Mo. You know, talk. What is it? Talk bills. I've been waiting to demonstrate with you for a while, Mo. So figure out what you got going on. Get in the studio, and you're gonna come up here and build with these young Moors with me. Islam. But yeah, Mo. That's definitely a fact. The Mo say, okay, look at what the Mo say right here. Tell me what y'all think about this.
At 30 years old, I honestly say I'm not drawing on what's be speaking about right now. So I'm gonna just stand right now and listen.
Islam. Okay, so the brother S. Marshall will say, I think that's majority rule voting blocks defeats third party. We need a voting reform. Hold on, let me put this link in here again for you, Mo. I'm finna put the link in here again, because I need you to I need you to come up and demonstrate that. Oh, so I think the link is in the YouTube. It's in the YouTube, Mo. It's in the YouTube. But the Mo say, okay, I'm gonna put it up here again. So the Mo say majority rule voting blocks defeats third party. We need a voting reform. What y'all think about that? Okay, Sister Lauren, I know you're 9 years old, but I'm interested. I have to know. What do you think about this conversation? What does a voting block? What does that even mean to you?
don't know.
Yes, Mo, we on YouTube. Bay the Truth Forever. Bay the Truth Forever. At Bay the Truth Forever on YouTube. The number 4, Bay the Truth Forever. You don't know, baby? Okay, so you want to demonstrate what the voting block is? You know what the voting block is, Day?
Nah.
Okay, so a voting block is just when a group of individuals come together and they all are made up in their mind that they're gonna all vote one way. So today, the most, I'm gonna say that the most effective voting block right now is the LGBTQ community. All right. So we all know that in the United States of America, you got 2 major partisan parties. You got the Democrat Party and you got the Republican Party. So with that being the case, the majority of the population of the country is split. Only about 39% of people in the United States say that they are Republicans. Everybody else either say that they are independents who caucus with the Democrats or Democrats. So when you say to yourself, well, how do the Republicans win elections? Because they capture certain voting blocks. They get certain blocks of people like the Hispanics or the Asiatic people, the Asiatic community to vote on their side. These represent voting blocks. So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali established a voting block, the Moorish Science Temple of America in the state of Illinois during his time, because the temples were very large. So temple number 1 in Chicago had like 3,000 members. Then there was temple number 9 that had like another 1,500 members, you know, so it was almost like that's 4,500 members. 4,500 members who obey the prophet do what? Teach their people their nationality and their divine creed. So now they got friends and family who may not be members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. But when it comes time to understand what's going on in politics, what's going on in social circles, they turn to these people who they know, hey, this is your lane, this is what you do. So they turn to the Moorish Science, the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America for information pertaining to that stuff, and that's how they vote. This is how you establish voting blocks. So if all of the Asiatic community were informed and made to move in one particular direction and vote for, you know, these certain people, then we could then elect teams who would go into government who would owe us. Y'all understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not about one person. No one person can change what happens in government. You got to elect teams. The president needs to have the Senate and the Congress on his side. Today, we see that the executive branch of government and the judicial branch of government are going to war with each other. Because there was a person who was in the United States of America legally and lawfully who was deported and placed in a maximum security prison in a third world country. And a judge ordered that this person be brought back. The president said, well, if the Supreme Court says I got to bring him back, I'll bring him back. The Supreme Court then ruled unanimously that this person needs to be brought back. And that individual still has not been brought back. This is causing the conflict between the executive branch of government and the judicial branch of government, which is something that none of us should want to see. Islam, how the Mo doing? I got the brother S. Marshall Ill. He done found his way to the studio. Islam, it's been like 6 months since
brother. Islam to everyone, to the brothers, sisters, everyone watching. I'm not familiar with some of these platforms and getting on posts. I was trying to say I was actually in my studio working on some music, but then I couldn't find. I was watching on Facebook, didn't realize the link was over here. But certainly, honors to you, my brother, for bringing up this subject because it's so dear to me and so needed for our community. Understanding civics, understanding politics. You know, the Moors, we are the order of civilization. We gave order to civilization. Learning civics is something that our forefathers paved the way for, you know, and so certainly we need to uh, pick up, go back, return back to our forefathers and foremothers' creed. So I commend you on the subject. We can't get enough of this conversation because what conversation does is some people say, well, people just keep talking and talking. But what it does as well is it creates thought, you know, and we need new thought.
That's
We
right.
need sometimes to keep hammering the thought, you know. So I just definitely want to uh, give honors for you for uh, putting the message out and doing the work that you're doing, uh, Brother Pennington. Yeah.
Islam,
Uh,
man.
so
Thank you.
I know y'all I made a comment. Y'all may have moved on to somewhere else, so I don't want to throw off the topic wherever you guys are right now.
Oh no, we still there, Mo. We no, we right there. You know, one thing about it, these young Moors. You see, I got the sister. You know, our future Sheikahs, Lauren Ambrose Bay right here, and I got the Mo Day Day, and I got the brother James Ambrose Bay. These Moors never heard of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali until recently joining the Moorish Science Temple of America,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
yes, so coming into the temple, these are things that's important. We need to guide them right and have these
Yeah,
conversations so that they can go out and have these conversations with people, who are, within their realm of responsibility. And that's
beautiful. That's
that's
beautiful, man.
yeah, Mo.
I
Yeah.
mean, you to the young folks, what you have is so powerful. You have an edge um, on all competition that's before you right now with the lessons of the prophet.
That's right.
Um, Dealing with business, dealing with every aspect of life. The thing is being able to stick with the lessons where you unfold them and you begin to see the science within the lessons and know how to apply it to your math and your everyday decisions that you have to make every day. And what you if you stick with it and more so just have a heart after Allah, have a heart after God, and that purity and that righteousness, those truths in those lessons will unfold and be revealed to you as a gift. And
That's
these things are gifts. So that even the things that you're learning now and things that you're discovering now, they're treasuries and they're gifts. Everybody's not going to be able to see what you are able to see.
right.
And so understand that that's a gift. That's a gift from Allah. If you are able to get some understanding, some clarity where it can help your day. And certainly you're going to help a few others along the way. So that's a beautiful thing to hear that you guys are being introduced to the prophet lessons because there's saving power in it. But not just it's saving power for a whole nation, but more so it's saving power for yourself, you
Mhm.
know. And what's being demonstrated now, what we're talking about is um, we know the prophet used civics to construct and build in a way to improve the conditions of our people, specifically in our Mecca there in Chicago, but it spread it out past Chicago. And not only did it launch the Moorish Americans in that time, in those days and times, but it was so powerful that it ricocheted out to other organizations even now today, as like the Nation of Islam and so forth. So it's very powerful. Yeah, very powerful. I couldn't say it enough. Lessons that you have in front of you. Just continue to stick with it and unfold those jewels. But I was to the comment that I made inside Sheep is that as we look at I believe one of the brothers was talking about the voting, electoral college voting, and you're right. I think most states they get the majority of the votes. So, like in some states, they're recommended to vote according to the popular vote, but they don't necessarily have to.
That's 2 states. That's right. They got to split. They got to split electoral college. It's
Well,
Maine, and it's another one. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, the split votes, but meaning that like for example, I think Hillary Clinton actually had won the popular vote, but she still lost the race. Meaning that like when I'm in the state of Florida, so the population can go and vote for the federal ticket, but the actual votes that count and that actually elect the president is our electoral college, right? So I'm not all the way sure, but I did some research some years back, and finding out how can one get positioned to be one of those electoral college voters.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you how that happens. So what happens is each oh, she said she looked it up. Islam.
Yeah, I
So
know in Florida, it
this what
may be
happens.
different in each state, but in Florida, the governor has room to appoint some of these electoral college voters.
Only under
Some of
certain conditions. So for each congressional representative of each state, there's an electoral college voter, and those representatives choose who their electoral college voters are. So, for instance, Hillary Clinton herself is not only is she a politician, but she's also a member of the electoral college because she was chosen by a representative in the state where she lives. So you can be an electoral college member if a representative in Florida choose you as one. Now, say for instance, in those cases, because like how a lot of times you'll have empty seats in Congress. It'll just be seats that's not filled. That's when the governors of those states that possess the empty seats can then choose who takes up who takes the place for the electoral college. Otherwise, each congressional representative, be they Senate or House, they choose who the electoral college members are. But these electoral college members, aside from the 2 states, and it was just a Supreme Court case that's recent that came out where members of because I think when Donald Trump first ran, you had some members of the electoral college who didn't vote the way they were supposed to. Those votes didn't count, but they didn't count either way. So so in those cases, if electoral college members voted for Donald Trump in states where they were supposed to vote for Hillary Clinton, instead of that state, just simply not she didn't even get those votes and he didn't get them either. So those votes weren't accounted for. So say if it was Illinois with its 18 votes and you had 2 people who were supposed to vote for one candidate, but they voted for the other candidate, then that candidate only got 16 votes. That affects the election. So the Supreme Court ruled after that that's not legal. So they can't do that. They can't do that. But if you looked in the almanac right now, you would see times where members of the Electoral College tried to actually go against the popular vote, and they just can't do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Except for those two states. It's two states where they do go with, whoever was, they proportion the vote.
I think that's an interesting conversation. And I think, well, even a more interesting conversation is that why is it that I haven't heard conversations in those who particularly try to lead our people to vote for certain candidates, lobby to these governors and lobby to these I would say even more the governor's race in order to get our vote, that we have representation in electoral college voting. I don't hear that conversation or that push. A lot of times we're pushing to make sure some type of civil rights or this or that, something of that nature, but never hearing the conversation to push, all right, you want our vote, you want this or that, guarantee us when you get the opportunity to come, guarantee us 2 seats or 1 seat at the electoral college table on those seats.
You want me to tell you why? And listen, young people, I need you young Moors to listen. All right, I need y'all to listen, because what this Mo just said is important. The reason why you don't hear it is because people like you are not sitting at the table when the discussion needs to be had, man. Simple as that. Because it would be someone like you who would make that a condition. You would make that a condition when representing the Moorish Science Temple of America and the block that we are, would make that a condition. Say, well, if you want our vote, then we need to have our own representation to be there, present, when it comes time to actually be accounted for. Okay? And this is what our young people need to understand, how far forward they need to think when it comes to these matters. You have to be thinking ahead. You have to be looking into the future, thinking about the future, and make sure that when you go to these people, you get everything that you got coming, because you're putting them in position.
Yes,
once
and also
you putting them in position.
Also, is telling to mark what is being given to you and being presented to you now, because I could tell you one of the reasons why these conversations are not being had, because the people that so-called representing us are not really representing us. They are on payrolls. They're people. They in people pockets, and these people are continuing to give us something that we think we're getting something, but we're not getting anything. We're just going in this circle, and we continue to go in this circle. But as we continue to educate ourselves on the civics and how the civics actually work, and we're not being hoodwinked by the news media and our feelings and these conversations, whether it's about immigrants or the prison population, or they taking out Social Security or whatever else the next news is, and not really asking the critical questions, the critical thinking questions, the questions that actually move the needle and make the move. What actually makes the move on the chess board? If we don't know how to critically think or whatever, we think we're getting something and we're actually not getting anything, and so to me, as we learn and why that conversation is not being had is because we've been sold out I call it it's Black Friday every day
That's right, Mo. And
because
hey,
they for sale. They for sale every day. But I
hold
do
on,
believe
hold on, Mo. I need to know. Okay, I think these other Moors is away from the camera right now, but we got the Mo Day
okay.
Day right here. Day Day. Did you hear what that Mo just said? He said he think it's Black Friday every day. Do you understand what he's saying?
Nah, can he elaborate on it?
Yeah.
Hold on, Honorable.
Okay.
James Ambrose Bay. That Mo said he think it's Black Friday every day. Do you understand what he's saying? Your mic off, Mo. Hold on. Unmute your mic.
Yeah, that caught my attention too. But I'm thinking about it in a lot of different ways, and maybe he could elaborate on that a little bit on that.
All right, tell them more is what Black Friday represents.
Okay.
After you demonstrate that, I want to deal with this statement that the Mo Hill Will Hardy stated right here. But you demonstrate first. We're gonna demonstrate this first.
Yeah, it's just simple. We know, like on Thanksgiving time, they have what they call Black Friday, right? Y'all familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what happens? What's so big about that Black Friday doing things? Said Thanksgiving time. What's so big about it? What
The illusion
everybody?
that they get stuff at a
Huh?
discounted price. The
Yeah,
illusion that they get things at a discounted price.
yeah. Everything's on sale, right? You get your bargain. Everything's for sale. Everything's up. It's time to sell. It's the biggest part where companies and organizations, businesses trying to make their bottom line. And so when I relate that to, that's the same way with our people. You know, we for sale. We for sale. You know, and so there's a little play with the word black, which I'm sure some of y'all would go in and even study that more. We know that black is an adjective, just to keep it real simple. Black is an adjective. It is not a noun. If you just know your basic English, adjectives are owned by nouns, right? Adjectives are owned by nouns. Again, adjectives are owned by nouns,
Islam.
right? So one in the Great Quran, it speaks of how God taught Adam names,
That's right.
right? He named it wasn't the adjectives. Of course, adjectives can expound on a noun, but so the great God gave you a name,
Islam.
right? So also, as we begin to come back to ourselves as Moorish Americans, as Moors, connecting back to the Moabites, right? That's a name. That's not an adjective. And so when I say for sale, black, we constantly for sale, you will see a constant behavior or condition that stem back in slavery, where it was profitable for me to sell out my brother for me to get ahead. Wow. You know, so if I wanted to succeed in this capitalistic society, right? The teaching, the lessons that is taught in the capitalistic society, what it say, what one of the rappers say, get rich or die trying. right? So it means like by any means necessary, right? I have to do what I need to do at the expense of my brother, at the expense of my mother, at the expense of whoever, to get ahead, right? And so that is what instilled in us over centuries of a way of thinking is that we a pattern of hate where there's only so many seats at the table they're going to allow us to sit at. They so-called say that. And so for us to, so we all fighting for 2 or 3 seats to sit at their table. And in order to sit there, right, you got to sell out your people. You got to make them feel that you're not a threat to them, but you are a partner to them. And you're going to continue to help them build their business. And so by doing so, yes, to me, in my opinion, I'm in my 50s. So in my opinion and what I've observed, our people tend to do whatever it takes. And that's the selling out our people to get whatever little piece they think they got. And only in the end, they find out that little piece that they got wasn't really worth anything.
Islam.
Listen,
So bro. I want
so
to show something. I got the prophet say he gonna repeat himself. The prophet say he said I'm gonna repeat myself. You know what I mean? So the prophet Noble he teaches us. All right. He say that it ain't but a few who know what the truth is about man. It ain't but a few. So when we come to these times like these Black Fridays, and everybody think they getting the bargain, so everybody gonna scrounge up their little coins, whatever they got, and go out and buy all these things that they think they need, and then they gonna wake up tomorrow, and they gonna realize that as far as moving their family forward towards that generational wealth that they family need and deserve, they have gotten themselves nowhere. Even though they done spent their little coins, all right? So when the Mo demonstrate that it's like Black Friday every day, it's like the Moors is going out and we spending, we giving what we got, and we ain't getting what we deserve in return for what we spending. I want to look at this. So the Mo Will Hardy, look what he say. He say civics is the knowledge of government. What government do you speak of? Because we governed ourselves here in the old world before the colonizers. Just the question. I want to answer this question because it was a question just like this that as a young Moorish American sitting in Sunday school watching the officers in the temple argue over Act 5. The officers in the temple was arguing over Act 5. And I was sitting there and I was saying to myself, they supposed to know and I'm supposed to be learning. All right. Well, it says that we are not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws of the said government, but to obey hereby. Now, the word in that law that tells us what government we speak about is said, Mo. Listen to me real hard. I hope you listen. Said. The word said means before mentioned. So when you look at the prophets said to be a good Moorish leader, you must study the Holy Quran and the divine constitution and bylaws handed down unto you by our prophet. So when you look into the divine constitution and bylaws, you have to discover and find the government that's being spoke of there. And it's the Moorish Science Temple of America. This is the said government. So civics is the knowledge of government. What government do you speak of? Now, when we say the government of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a lot of Moors think that the Sheikh Pennington Bey then is excluding us away from the government of the United States of America, but I'm not. Because in the Moorish Science Temple of America, chapter number 35, Allah say that he instituted government. Wherever you find government, Allah said he instituted government. So now, as members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, we know that Allah instituted government. We also need to learn. And this is where this conversation comes about, and why we having it right now with these young Moors is because we need to learn that we have a role in said government, wherever said government is, Mo. Wherever the said government is, you have a role in it. It's up to you to do the research, and it's up to you to make the intelligent vote. The intelligent vote. Okay? The intelligent vote. And
As they say, if you are not at the table, you own the menu.
You own it. Mo, what you say that again, Mo?
If you're not at the table,
you own the menu. Now, Mo, hold up, Mo, because we from the streets, Mo. Hold up, Mo. Listen, Mo, I'm off the block now. I'm from the street. I'm in the more. I got a feds on. I got this, you know what I mean? I'm demonstrating the profit, but I'm from the street, Mo. So when you say on the menu, I ain't trying to be on nobody's menu, Mo. I'm going to defend myself.
Yeah, so I encourage you young people to learn your civics, learn your city government, learn your local government, learn who your school board commit. Like even you in school, you need to know who your here in Florida we call them the school board. They may be different titles, different other places, but you need to know who runs your schools. Who's in control? You need to know your bylaws and laws of your school. So when you run into a situation or a teacher not doing what they're supposed to do, you know what they're supposed to be doing, and you know what you're supposed to be doing. We are a society that are run by laws. Everybody has to answer to the law. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your title is. Everybody has to answer to the law. But the problem is, if I don't know the law, and then I know you don't know the law, then I can do these different things to get over on you, right? Because we know you're not going to challenge us. You're not going to hold us accountable. So as you young people learn your local. Since you're in school, learn the rules and regulations of your school and your school district, and know the members of your school elected officials. So if you come into a situation, you know who to go to, your superintendent or whoever it is.
That's right.
And you guess what? They will highly respect you. They'll look at you different once you start spitting them laws back to them.
That's right. That's right, Mo. All right, Mo. So,
all right.
It's Paradigm Shifting the podcast. I've been gone for like 6 months. I was on the road. You know, me and the Shay Ray, because we've been gone for 6 months. You know, it's gonna take him a little while to get his schedule back in order, so we can, get our what they call it in wrestling, the tag team back together. You understand me? So we get the tag team back together, and we can start, bringing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I enjoyed some of your. I've caught some of the replays of your podcast. So I really enjoy it. So I look forward to that. Yeah, look forward to that.
Islam, Mo. We had a lot of things. We had a lot of things happen. Life be life, and you know how it do.
Yeah.
Life be life, and then in the process, when we got away, what can we do? And then building this temple, missionary post number 9. There's nothing more important to me, Mo, than the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Yeah.
I had to
There's
make a choice.
seasons, you know. There's seasons. It's not only about being ready, but it's also about time, timing, you
Mhm.
know, positioning. So yeah, it's you know, in this manifest that is, and so it all comes together.
It does. All right, so we finna get ready to close out. Before we close out, I'm gonna let the young Moors close out. You know, I'm gonna let the young Moors close out. So Day, you know, anything you want to put on the table, you want to say to the people, you want to speak, whatever it is, a question that I didn't ask, whatever, something you're thinking about, go and demonstrate that right now.
I just want to add on to what the brother from Florida said, and to our people, we need to learn the people of our government. We need to learn who running our city, who running our state, who's running our federal government. We need to really look into these bills that they're trying to push, not only on a federal level, but at the state level too.
That's
We
right.
need to know our Congress people, encourage them to hold town halls so we can have our voice in the government, especially the government that we have now. We also need to get on our Congress people about advocating for the things that we need and making sure we have a seat at the table, like the brother from Florida said.
Islam, Islam, and I'm gonna add on to that. I'm gonna camelback ride with you, and I'm gonna say that we need young Moors like yourself to become these people. Islam.
Mm-hmm.
We need some feds and some turbans, you know, in these halls. That's what we need. That's what we need more than anything, Mo. You know, so that's my job as Grand Sheik, you know, and as somebody, you know, who on these platforms, who has a voice, who people listening to communicate to our people the importance of actually becoming a part and a partial of the government. You know what I mean? Because we are affected by it. Islam.
Islam.
Okay, sister, it's Sister Lauren Ambrose Bay Islam. This is the acting chairwoman. Listen, 9 years old. This is the acting chairwoman of missionary post number 9. That's some heavy stuff you
Islam.
got on you, sister. That's some heavy stuff. Islam.
Islam.
All right. Tell the people what you want the people to know about what you've been learning about. Go ahead, give it to
Um, honestly, I don't know how to put this. Like, I've been learning stuff like new in my life, stuff that I never actually thought I was gonna learn. Like, um, being in the Moorish Science Temple of America, I know that I feel like so to me, something tells me that that's like a privilege to me of being in the Moorish Science Temple of America. So, um, I'm doing my best not to abuse that privilege, but also I'm learning that about like the higher self and the lower self, and how heaven is a state of mind, and how hell is a state of mind. And honestly, I used to be scared of death, but now I'm not.
us. Islam.
Islam. Praise Allah.
Islam. And let me tell y'all something. Let me tell everybody out there who listening. She mean what she just said. She ain't just saying that more. This is one of the prophets protege. You understand me? She is different. You know, like you know how you just take a fish and you throw the fish in water and the fish just take to the water. This what happened with this one right here.
Praise
Coming into the
Allah.
Moorish Science Temple of America, she just take to it, bro. And all these Moors, all praise is due to Allah. I thank Allah for making my job easy. All right. I want to get honor to you, brother S. Marshall. You are welcome whenever you see Paradigm Shifting the podcast, no matter what the topic is or whatever the case may be. I always post the link in the chat. Everybody is welcome to come on the stage and build, because the whole idea is exactly what I said: paradigm shifting. Okay. Our goal is to shift the paradigms from the carnal perspective that most men have about life and the way life be life in them, to looking at life the way the Quran describes it and say that it's a multitude of lessons that man must learn upon the plane of soul. All right. So it's a multitude of lessons here that we must learn. And I want us all to recognize that what we are going through are lessons and that there are things that we're supposed to take away from these lessons that's going to make us stronger until we reach that point of being the strength of Allah made manifest. Because that's the ultimate unfoldment of what we are as Asiatic people here. That's what we are. You understand what I'm saying? I want to bring back a demonstration that we always demonstrate in our temple. Allah is our most ancient ancestor. He is the father of the universe. He is our father. That's the origin. That's where we came from. All right. That's most important. We don't claim, to possess parts of the planet. The universe is ours. All right. He said that he was placing the vicegerent in the earth. The earth is one of the seven Elohim, meaning that the entire universe, all of the bodies in the universe that house life are a part of that earth, and it's all ours, Mo. I want the Moors to really embrace who and what they truly are. Embrace who and what you truly are. All right. So that's important to me. It should be important to you. Y'all know how I do. Usually about this time, I just be like clicking the end stream button on, do a whole bunch of outro, this, that, and third, subscribe, like, whatever, do whatever you want to. I just hope you took away something from the discussion that can help you and yours. Peace, I'm gone. It's over. That's right. I absolutely agree. Something that the Quran says, the Quran talks about heaven and hell, not being places, but being actually states of mind. So what we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is those particular lessons and exercises that allows for us to master our minds. So in mastering our minds, we know that we actually create, our living conditions or our living mind space. My brother Shay Rayil used to always talking about, having the chaotic mind space versus the peaceful mind space and the ability to create this space for yourself. And as Moorish Americans, somebody who knows themselves, they know that this ability, that this capacity actually exists within them.